YouTube! So, Mel here. I told you guys I'd be doing the book review video today. It's Tuesday, so here goes. So, the book that I've read over the past week is Wicca, Fundamentals of Philosophy and Wicca for Beginners, Fundamentals of Philosophy and Practice by Thea Sabin. This is the front cover. That's the back. So I'm just going to read the back to you guys. An enchanting introduction to Wicca. Explore the peaceful, earth-based religion of Wicca and discover an enchanting new world of possibilities. This straightforward, concise guide sets the record straight about what Wicca is and what it isn't. It covers basic Wiccan beliefs and practices, with the information in each chapter building on the knowledge and skills you've learned along the way. In addition to learning about the goddess and god, wheel of the year, and spells and magic, you'll also explore, bullet point, the differences between solitary or coven craft, bullet point, trance, meditation, and path working, bullet point, ethics from a Wiccan perspective, altars, tools, and other magical items, how to create meaningful personal rituals, spell casting, including tips for writing your own spells, how to find a teacher or coven you can trust. Now, I figured I would just give you guys a general idea about what I thought of the book. There's a lot of information in it. The author definitely goes into a lot of detail on a lot of things, but oddly enough, which actually I kind of expected this because of the title, Fundamentals of Philosophy and Practice, this really does kind of focus on the philosophy and inner working side of things. So there's a ton of information on stuff like visualizing, meditating, grounding, anything that would be considered kind of the inner mindful aspect of Wicca. There's also information on things like tools, altars, rituals, and spells, and she gives examples of almost everything in the book, and that's a really fantastic thing because sometimes if you don't know how you want to set up an altar, if you're not sure how you're going to do a spell or something like that, an example's extremely helpful. But she doesn't go into as much detail about those subjects as she does about the things that would be considered more inner aspects. Then in the middle ground, you've got like the deities and things about the deities and sabbats. She goes into more detail than she does about things like tools and spells and whatnot on those, but not quite as much as she does about visualization and meditation and whatnot. Unlike most Wiccan books or books on witchcraft, the author has not included any kind of Book of Shadows or including her own. She hasn't included anything like that. This is just about Wicca, the fundamentals. It's just about the information, and she gives examples, but she doesn't provide a Book of Shadows. So if you're looking for a book with a Book of Shadows, this probably would not be the one for you, but I already have books with Books of Shadows, and I actually like to write my own stuff, so I don't really use that information, so that doesn't bother me that it's not included in here. Let me see. There's also a reading list at the back of the book, and one of the nice things about the reading list is, as the author mentions, they're all books that she actually owns, that she has read. So I think that's really nice to just include books that the author herself has read and that the author owns, instead of just kind of promoting books by others and whatnot. So she has read them herself basically and determined that they would be in a good source for further information. Finally, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about certain things, I just want to tell my opinion on the tone of the book. Now, for the most part, the tone is serious, it's concise, it's delivering information in a no-nonsense way. And I kind of feel like maybe the editor read it and said, this is too dry, you've got to make it a little more personal or something like that, because randomly, and usually at the ends of like a section of paragraphs or something, like it was kind of thrown in, there will be a random anecdote from the author's life that completely goes away from the tone of the rest of the writing. And if it was just a couple times, I don't think that would really detract anything. It'd be like, oh, hey, this is just a random thought I had that this thing made me think of. But it's not consistent enough to become part of the tone to make it more of a lighthearted book, because this isn't really a lighthearted book. This is an information heavy, get to the point, no nonsense, no frills book, except for these random anecdotes. And they're consistent, yet they're consistently inconsistent enough that it kind of throws off the pace when you're reading and throws off the tone. And some people might really enjoy that, but I kind of feel like the fact that they're not consistent enough makes it feel as if they just don't quite belong in the book, in my opinion, and I think it would be better off without them. But that's just my opinion, and if you like anecdotes and if you like random comments about things from the author's life, which normally I'm totally fine with that, depending on the tone of the book. The tone of this book is just too serious, in my opinion, for those to make sense. But that's just me. Other people could have different opinions on it, but I just wanted to tell you my thoughts in case you're along the same lines, or even if you like the anecdotes, even if they don't quite go with the tone of the book, you know what's going on. You know that it's there, you know that it's present, and hopefully you'll be more aware if you decide to buy the book. Okay. So that's kind of a general of everything that I wanted to go over. I'm just going to kind of look at the table of contents with you guys real quick. So this is the contents. If you pause it, you could probably maybe read it. I don't know. But first is What's Wicca, where she goes over kind of what Wicca is and what Wicca isn't. And that's something that she goes into good detail on. She gives different definitions, such as the definition of magic by Aleister Crowley. I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly. I've never actually heard his name said aloud. Then she goes into basic Wiccan principles and ethics, and again, she really goes into details about things that are more of the inner workings. But where she really gets into detail is with fundamental Wiccan tools, energy, visualization, grounding, and shielding. She goes into incredible detail about those things, and also there are exercises throughout the book, and they're really excellent exercises, and in my opinion, I think the ones for visualization are the best, and once you get those down, I think it actually makes the other exercises easier to do, because they all kind of require visualization in a way, and whether you're a beginner, whether you've been studying for a few years, whether you've been practicing for a few years, I think this book's exercises, especially in visualization, grounding, and shielding, I think they're excellent and could be helpful to anybody. She also goes into a lot of detail on trance, meditation, and path working, and she has exercises for those again, and I think that's like where she gets the most detail out in the book. That's a pretty big chunk of the book itself. From there on, other things don't get quite as much attention, but as I said, I kind of expected that from that title, Fundamentals of Philosophy and Practice. So it really is heavy on the philosophical side. The next section is The Circle, a Wiccan's Sacred Space. She goes into pretty good detail there, but again, once you get past the trance, meditation, and path working chapter, there's not as much detail on things. The 4 Elements and the 4 Quarters is the next section, followed by Getting to Know the Wiccan Gods. So I would say those 3, the Circle, the 4 Elements, and Getting to Know the Wiccan Gods, those sections have kind of I would say the medium amount of information. And then you've got Tools, Toys, and Altars, Wiccan Holidays. Well, Wiccan Holidays and the Wheel of the Year would also be considered like in the middle ground for me. But Tools, Toys, and Altars, that kind of has the least information, but she does have really good examples of what an altar can look like. She goes over the different tools that you can have on it, the ways that you can get them, the ways that you can make them possibly, and she also goes over she has good examples, but it's not as heavy on the information as some of the other sections are. So then Wiccan Holidays and the Wheel of the Year, as I said, that was also in kind of the middle ground with information. So more information than what was available about the tools, toys, and altars and spell work and whatnot, but not quite as much information as about visualization and path working and whatnot. Then it is putting it together using what you've learned, which goes into detail about doing rituals. Not quite as informational as some of the other things, but has a really good example. She uses a Samhain ritual to go into detail on that, and that's pretty well done. Then there's So You're Curious About Magic, which is about spell work, and that is probably tied with Tools, Toys, and Altars for amount of information, but she does give a really good example of a spell using the information that the rest of the book has given you. Then the last section is Where Do I Go From Here, and it tells you, you know, basically read what you can, learn in different ways that you can, study with a teacher if you can, and how to determine if someone is trustworthy or not to be able to learn from them. And then there's the further reading list and the index. So overall, I think I would give this book probably 3.5 stars out of 5 or 7 out of 10. Just because while it does have a lot of information, for me personally, the weird tone kind of made it hard to read the book just a little bit, and I think it's important to be able to get through the book without issue, because otherwise you're going to be caught up on these things that are bothering you and throwing off your pace. But I do recommend this book because it does have excellent information on the philosophical sides of Wicca, on the inner workings, and it has fantastic exercises, especially in visualization, meditation, pathworking, trance, and pretty much anything that would be more of the inner mind. Okay, so that's the book review. I hope you guys liked it. I've already decided on the next book that I'm going to read, and it's going to be the part of the Sabbath series by Llewellyn. It's going to be Mabon, Rituals, Recipes, and Lore for the Autumn Equinox. I'm really excited to read this, and I've decided to read it since Mabon has just passed, and I think I'm going to try to start reading the books right before the holiday and make it go try to make it work out that way. So this will be the next book. You guys have seen the books that I own, so if you have a recommendation for what you'd like me to read next or a request, feel free to comment below and let me know, and I'll take that into consideration. But for now, that will be the next book. The next thing that I want to say is I've decided that I want to do a giveaway. So if my account, which is kind of small right now, but if I reach 50 subscribers, I am going to give away one of these Sabbath Essential books. And I think I'll do it by whichever Sabbath's coming up. Once I reach 50 subscribers, that one will be the one that I give away. If you already own the book, we'll work something out, but the rules are simple. You just have to be subscribed to the channel, and for every video you like and comment on, your username will be entered into the drawing once for each video. So like, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys are excited as I am, and I think that's all I've got for you guys today. So wherever you are, I hope that you're enjoying watching this, and that's it, I guess.